Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Mazas Musings. Man, with the winter weather and the weird weather that we've had here in Western Massachusetts this week, it's supposed to be spring. We had basically a week's worth of rain, followed by some snow and some sleet and trees down and all kinds of craziness. It just seems really appropriate that we have a Disney-related podcast this week. This one was a fun one. Of course, a couple weeks ago, Megan Mazza joined me for her first podcast, and this week, my wife Eileen is the one who gets behind the mic with me, and we talk a little bit about Disney. As you'll hear in this podcast, Eileen was really the one who rekindled my love and fascination with Disney as an adult, and now it has really become part of the traditions of our family and things that we're passing down to Megan. So this was a really fun and really special podcast for me because we got to share some of those experiences. And of course, we had the opportunity to get a little silly, but there are some points where we're making some real serious tips for families who are looking to go on trips. Things that we think that really will help people accentuate the most positive things that they can find in their Disney vacation. So I hope you enjoy it as much as we enjoyed doing it. And here we go. Well, here I am with my beautiful, talented, smart, and oh so patient wife, Eileen. She's joining me today. We're going to talk some Disney. She's a little bit nervous about this. She's never done anything like this before. And so I guess I'm just going to start off. Truthfully, Eileen is the one who got me into, for better or worse, my pseudo obsession with Disney and going to the Disney parks and such. She was really the one who rekindled my interest in Disney. You know, as a kid, I grew up with Disney, kind of in the golden age of Disney animation and everything. I was fortunate enough to go on some trips with my family over the years, but it wasn't really until Eileen and I started dating that my adult interest in Disney really took off. So, welcome, Eileen. Would you like to talk a little bit about your Disney journey?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So I grew up on Disney as well. From a very young age, we watched Disney movies. I was the oldest of 6 kids. So even as I got older, there were always younger kids. And so it was pretty much always Disney and Disney movies in the house. I always wanted to go to Disney. I was always, it was something that I always wanted to do in my life. But the first time I actually went, I was 20 years old. And again, as the oldest of 6 kids, travel was hard. So we were very fortunate and very blessed that when my grandparents celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary, they took all their kids and all their grandkids, and at that point their one great-grandchild, on a land and sea vacation to Disney. And so prior to going on that trip, I did my research. I knew exactly what I was going to be wanting to do at the parks. I had a friend help me out, making a list of priorities to do. And so when we got to that park, I never stopped moving, and I was able to do everything I wanted to do at all 4 parks in 4 days. And not only did I do it myself, but I had a lot of the 30 of us tagging along and following along as I was literally checking items off a list, walking around down Main Street, USA. So after that trip, I didn't go back again until 2011. So it was 6-7 years later. And basically, as soon as Chris and I got engaged, I said, can we go to Disney for our honeymoon? And that was our first trip together. And, well, we're still going together today.
Yeah, it's funny because that trip, you were actually the experienced Disney adult. You had been to Disney as an adult, more recently. And, it was one of those things that I was of the mind that, okay, this will be fun, and it's something that I know that she'll really enjoy. And it's really funny how quickly I took to it and how into the experience I got right off the bat. And then, we kind of thought, if memory serves, now Eileen, for everyone listening, is the one with the far better memory. So I'm sure that many times throughout this podcast, as has been the case throughout our lives, she will remind me that my recollection of things is hazy at best. But I think we went again for our 5-year anniversary. And I think at that point we were kind of like, okay, well, maybe this is something we do every 5 years or something like that.
Yes, I think we had planned to go back for 5. We then said, okay, we'll go back. Our next trip will be our 10th anniversary and so forth. And so we went in 2016 for our 5-year anniversary, had a really great time. And then at the end of 2016, I earned my master's degree. And I said, hey, let's do something to celebrate. And I think that was really the start of our more regular Disney trips. And we did still go back for our 10th.
Yes, we did.
A few other times in between.
And of course, along the way, we ended up meeting with a representative from the Disney Vacation Club. And we were enticed by the promise of ice cream and some free fast passes. And a van that would take us anywhere on the property that we needed to go, which was also a nice little perk. So we didn't sign up immediately as much as we wanted to, but then we eventually decided, you know what? We're not going to go less with a kid, probably.
I was going to say, about a month after we met with the representative, we were sort of teetering on the fence. We were like, we think we can do it, but we want to make sure it's actually feasible. And then about a month or 2 later, found out Megan was on her way. And that's when it was just like, yep, we're going to do this.
So yeah, so now we are members of the Vacation Club. Going to Disney World is a regular occurrence for us. I think I mentioned in the podcast that I did with Megan. Megan is such an expert, especially on like Wilderness Lodge, which is our home resort, that she could give tours of the place. And so she's a very fortunate little girl in that respect. And it's really become part of our family tradition. And we're also branching out in other ways with that. We went on the cruise in February, but really to say that whole thing about welcome home, when we return to Disney, for us, I think really, really hits home.
Definitely feels like a second home.
So we played around with a couple of ideas on the format for this podcast, but essentially what we basically decided is we're going to take a bunch of random topics about Disney, and most specifically about Disney World, put them in a hat, and we're going to pull a few out and talk about them. Now, I think I've got about 25 different things to talk about here. Certainly, we're not going to cover all of those tonight, but we'll do a handful of them. It'll be completely random, and we'll see what we come up with. So I'm going to put these in my trusty R2-D2 Mickey ears. Did I get these on our anniversary, or did we get these on our honeymoon?
I think those were the anniversary. The honeymoon, we got the bride and groom.
That's right.
That was the anniversary because you got the poo on my master's trip.
Absolutely. And then everybody was telling me that I had poo on my head. All right, so I'm going to pour these in here, mix them up so you can hear
There really are a whole bunch of them. They're on green paper. This is truly random.
right, Eileen will pick the first one.
That happens at least once a day.
Well, to be fair, Megan is constantly calling me mommy, so.
Weirdest thing you've done on a Disney vacation?
Do you want to start with that, or would you like me to?
You can start with that.
Okay, the weirdest thing that I've done on a Disney vacation is probably what I did on the cruise just this past February. I was trying to get this shot. I'm big into taking pictures, and the cruise really set itself up for taking pictures and everything. So one of the things I like to do is take pictures of things at weird angles. So I think I was alone for this. Megan might have been with me running around, but I think that I was alone for this. I was in the Grand Hall, which is like the main atrium lobby of the ship, and they have this statue of Cinderella. And behind Cinderella is Lucifer, the cat. And he's got a bowl. And for the longest time, we couldn't figure out why he was holding this bowl. Turns out, if you look behind Cinderella, at the bottom of her dress, Jack and Gus Gus are sticking their heads out like they're peeking out from under the dress. So it was a pretty empty lobby at that point. I think it was pretty early in the morning. And I was trying to get this picture that was like from Lucifer's point of view, like looking over Lucifer's ears, like at them. But to get that shot, I was literally prone on the floor, trying to get like kind of like it was not quite on the ground. There was a step up. So I was kind of like laying over this thing, trying to get this photo. And there were definitely people walking by like, what is this guy doing? Is he okay? So I think that's the thing that the weirdest thing I've done in terms of something that has elicited a response from people. And I could only imagine what I actually looked like while doing that.
I don't think I ever knew you actually did that. I thought you were always joking when you talked about like laying down in the lobby to get pictures and taking pictures at weird angles. So yeah, I didn't know that was real. I don't know. This was a really hard first one because I can't think of anything super weird that I've done at Disney.
How about awkward? Because I've got a second one that could definitely qualify as awkward.
For me?
Well, it involved both of us.
Okay. I was gonna say awkward. I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty normal at Disney.
Well, this wasn't so much weird, except other than making me feel weird and awkward. So our last trip, the adults only trip that we took an adults only trip in June of last year, and it was around our anniversary. And when we were in Mexico, the band,
oh my goodness,
the band played a song for us and had us come up. And the
mariachi band,
right,
we had to dance to mariachi.
Now,
okay,
I have no idea how to dance, and certainly not to mariachi. And so it was just the weirdest, most awkward couple of minutes of our lives, because there was a crowd of people there, and there were people taking pictures. There was a guy who took a video and then shared it with us afterwards, and it was just like, oh yeah, that is as awkward as it felt.
But it was fun, and it is definitely a memory.
So yes, that.
Okay, yeah, awkward. That's awkward.
I suppose weird was, it wasn't quite weird, but it definitely had that weird, awkward feel to it. All right, so I'm going to pull this one. And the question is, true or false, Animal Kingdom is a half-day park?
False. I love Animal Kingdom. I do think it's probably a 3/4 of a day park. They still don't have a nighttime show back yet, right?
No, not that I'm aware of anyway.
So a few years back when they had the nighttime show, it was hands down a full day park because it was a great, dawn till dusk. Without the nighttime show, I would say it's a 3/4 day park. So get up there, go early. But if you want to make dinner reservations somewhere else or go back to the resort for some pool time at dinner time, I think that's okay. But I need more than a half day there.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate. I also think that when people look at it as a half-day park, they're looking specifically at the rides that are available. And I think that generally that's something that people have a mindset of with Disney sometimes, that it's just like, just slow down a little bit. There's Animal Kingdom is one of those places, especially, that if you just slow down a little bit and take the time to look around and appreciate some of the things that are around. I mean, just even like walking around Pandora, which is super cool. Taking the time to walk through some of the less traveled animal areas.
Well, even the Tree of Life, I feel like everyone rushes past it, or the Discovery Island area.
Mm-hmm.
People rush past it because they want to rope drop, those bigger rides, which we do that too, definitely. But then once you've gotten on that ride, go back and take a look at it, enjoy it. It's really fun to see.
Well, and especially if you've got kids, there's the name's escaping me, the Rafiki's.
The Planet Watch thing?
Yes. Yeah. So, there are other things to do that are, so if you're looking solely at the rides, yeah, there's not a ton of rides there, but there are a lot of experiential things. And also like the Lion King show is something that I recommend anybody who's going to Animal Kingdom to go see.
I recommend anyone who's going to Disney to go see the Lion King show.
Especially, I think the monkeys are back now.
Yes.
So.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. So I would agree that, especially without a nighttime spectacular or something like that, like when they had the, did they call it the River of Light?
River of Light. And then they had all the illuminations up on the Tree of Life after that. That was definitely cool to see.
But without that, I definitely agree that it is the kind of thing that, especially if you want to get there early, if you're looking to do the safari early, is to see the animals before it gets too warm and they all go and hide. It's something that you can kind of, retreat back to your resort, do the pool, find, or, if you've got a park hopper, you can do something like that. But to say that it's just a straight half-day park I would agree, is a fallacy. Eileen's turn. Sorry, my handwriting isn't great on some of these.
Parade or cavalcades?
I'm going to say I love the cavalcades, because on top of everything else, you don't have to, you don't have to plot out a strategy to make sure you're getting there on time, but not wasting too much time, and missing something else, or, it's just the cavalcades, especially during the height of them, when they were kind of still trying to avoid crowds, large crowds and everything, were really great because they felt more natural. It was just like, oh, hey, here comes a cavalcade. Because at first they weren't even like listing them as a scheduled event.
That's what I was going to say.
So, and then it became more of a scheduled thing. But there's just something about, okay, you see some characters in a float or two, and then you go on about your... Now, the parades are great too, especially if you're looking to get a song stuck in your head. But I feel like it's more of a project to watch the parade. The last time we were there, we really were fortunate in terms of like our timing. We were coming back from the cruise. By the time that we got to the park, it was right about lunchtime and right about parade time. So we were able to just kind of hunker down, eat lunch, and then watch the parade. So that was great. But in general, it's one of those things that's like, okay, well, we've got to plan what we're doing here and here so that we can hit the parade. And, it kind of, as much as I love the parade, just having the cavalcades felt much more natural and felt like you could just kind of like have it flow with the rest of your day.
I love the parade. I love to see all the princesses. I love what they do. Like, I love it. And yes, the song will be stuck in your head it's stuck in my head again, just thinking about it. But what I really liked about the cavalcades when they had them, and, especially as Chris said, with the more random pop-ups, there also weren't as many people there. So they were much more personal. And I feel like the characters would interact with you a lot more than they do when they've got hundreds and hundreds of people lining the streets. So they don't get to necessarily interact with you in that same way. Like Ariel told me once that she loved my ears and kept, having a little back and forth conversation with me, all via her hands, but told me how she loved her ears, that she spotted, or I had the Little Mermaid ears. So she spotted my ears from a while away and she was just pointing at me, going back and forth. And this was a trip too where Megan was not with us. So she just, picked me out of like the people along and was just interacting with me for the whole time. So I think the cavalcades offered a little bit more of a personal touch.
Well, and it was one of the cavalcades too where Gaston challenged you to a push-up contest,
yes.
wasn't it?
Yeah, I try to draw a lot of attention from the characters when I'm there.
Now, and it should be noted that the Ariel scene was a big deal for Eileen. Ariel is her favorite princess. It's her favorite Disney movie. So, yeah, that was a big moment for her. All right, so it's my turn?
It is.
Okay, what is one piece of advice you would give a Disney World first-timer?
You have to plan a little bit. You have to have a little bit planned. I know that it's, when you go on vacation, sometimes people are like, you don't want to overplan. You don't want to be stuck on a schedule. But I really believe in order to have a great time, you need to at least have a few ideas of like the things that you definitely want to do. And then once you do those things, or once you factor those into your day, then you can play it by ear. But there's no pretending. Disney is crowded. It's going to be very crowded. You're not going to be able to do everything that you think you want to do. You're definitely not going to be able to do everything that is there. We still haven't done everything that is there. But I do think you need to have a small part of your time planned with the things you definitely want to do in order to get the most out of your experience.
Yeah, and on top of the planning, I think that it's good to note that, especially if you're going with kids and things like that, having a plan or at least an idea of the things that you want to do and everything also helps you build in those necessary rest times, those break times, so that you aren't trying to scramble and be like, no, we've got to do this, we've got to do this. The number one way that you're going to ruin your vacation is pushing your kids past the breaking point, and then you have, what you see on social media with someone's kid, laying down in the middle of Main Street, kicking and screaming. But yeah, the thing that I think people need to remember, and I touched on this a little bit with the Animal Kingdom topic, is understand that Disney World is the attraction. A lot of people approach Disney World the same way that they would approach another amusement park. And this is one thing that truthfully I wish that I had given as some more advice for my sister when she came with us on a recent trip with her kids. Is a lot of people, we've got a Six Flags near us here in Western Massachusetts, and a lot of people around here have passes to Six Flags and things like that and do that regularly. And Six Flags is very much a go on the rides experience, whereas Disney World is an immersive experience. So if you're just going to Disney World for the rides, you can do that. But I feel like you're missing out on a lot of the experiences. There's the parades, there's the fireworks, there's the shows, there's even like the dining experiences, the snacks, all of it is part of this experience that if you let it will just envelop you. And I think that that's one thing that people get so wrapped up in the rides, and I understand that, especially with when you're looking at the app's showing you all the wait times and everything like that, and that's the first thing that pops up. But really allow yourself to experience Disney as a whole. You're not going to be able to hit every ride. You're not going to be able to hit every experience. But if you actually like allow Disney to be, so to speak, it kind of fills in those gaps. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree with that. You also forgot to mention the characters. In
Of
the
course.
list of things to do.
Of course.
The characters are important too.
Well, one of the things that's really cool about Disney is, speaking of the characters, is sometimes they'll just pop up unexpectedly. Like one of our recent trips when we were staying at Wilderness Lodge, all of a sudden, we were walking around outside and there was Goofy and Pluto and Donald. Remember?
Oh,
outside?
that was a different. Yes, that was a different. I was thinking on how they were how Mr. Smee was in the lobby last time we were at Wilderness Lodge, and
and on our last trip when we were taking the Disney Wish, in the lobby before
we got on the bus,
there were a bunch of the characters there that they just arrived and were just there meeting. So it's one of those things where you don't even necessarily have to be waiting in line for a character to have the character experience. So you're absolutely right. I was so wrong in forgetting that.
All right, let's see. Most overrated experience at Disney parks.
Most overrated experience at Disney parks.
Jungle Cruise.
See, I was waiting for you to say that one but I think we're both in agreement with that.
I don't understand its huge draw. Now, I know people love it. People will wait in line forever for it. So I don't want to knock Jungle Cruise. I just don't think it lives up to all its hype.
Fair enough. Of course, you don't appreciate a good dad joke, as the looks of disapproval at most of my jokes, would suggest. So, and I'm funny.
I mean, I don't know about that. My dad sends Megan jokes every night lately, and he's got some good ones.
Well, anyway, I think that my most overrated experience at Disney would probably be outside of Jungle Cruise, because I do agree with you on that one. Well, I won't even say that. I can't even say that it's overrated because I've never actually been on it. So, but I don't get the fascination with Tomorrowland Speedway. And I know that you went on it with Megan on our last trip while I was getting us a spot for the fireworks. But I just don't see the appeal. I mean, you were able to get on it when there was a 5-minute wait. So even then, but there are times when it's a 60-minute wait, and it's just like, why in the world would I wait for that?
Yeah, I can see that. Again, with a 6-year-old who gets to drive a car, it was clear she enjoyed it. But 1, we went on in the evening. 2, it was a 5-minute wait. So the evening I mentioned that. In the evening, we weren't sitting in the hot sun. I could not imagine being on that open track with a 6-year-old crashing back and forth in the 100-degree heat and sun.
Now, she said that wasn't her fault. That was the steering wheel's fault.
Well, apparently the steering wheel was not working on Tomorrowland Speedway.
Fair enough. All right,
Your
so
turn.
This is mine. Best roller coaster at Disney.
Ooh.
Now, I just went into this whole thing about how, Disney isn't all about the rides, but obviously the rides are a big part of it as well. And I will say, I'm just going to preface, our responses with this. Disney's not the place where, again, like, you're not going to find like the Six Flags Superman coaster or things like that. It's not, it doesn't cater to that audience, and it's not, that's not really what they're going for. While they do have some things that have thrills to them,
And I think they've added some more recently to try and up that thrill factor with Tron and with Guardians.
But they're also doing that without adding like the humongous drops and things like that. They're finding, I guess, more innovative ways to insert some thrill without, that Six Flags element to it. No offense to Six Flags. I know people enjoy Six Flags, but, just to kind of illustrate the difference.
So best coaster at Disney. I don't know if I can answer that, because my favorite is definitely not what is it would be considered the best at this point.
Well, then what's your favorite?
That's what I'm going with.
Okay.
So my favorite is Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. That is the first ride I went on in 2007 on my very first trip to Disney. We raced down Main Street, USA. We went over, we took a left, and we headed directly to Big Thunder Mountain. And that was the first ride I've ever been on. And it is for me, it is a can't miss when I'm at Disney. And I know that there are a lot of new coasters that are faster, that have more thrill to them, and honestly, that are better. But if I had to pick one coaster at Disney that I would go on every time, it would be Big Thunder Mountain.
So I'm going to agree with you that is my favorite as well, but I'm going to choose a best. And it's the one that we went on for the first time. And you're shaking your head, I know, because you did not enjoy it as much as I did. But the Cosmic Rewind was just like, it was like nothing I had ever been on before. And it was kind of one of those things where I was talking about they're finding innovative ways to insert the thrills. I mean, this was the most unique roller coaster ride I've ever been on. And I am not a big like roller coaster guy, as you know. I'm not huge into like the big thrill, but this wasn't like the big thrill. This was just a thrilling ride. And there is a difference between those.
Yeah, I agree. I totally understand. And I would agree it is definitely the most unique roller coaster I've ever been on. But it was just a little too much of a thrill for me. And I don't get motion sick a lot, but it was one of those things where I did have to close my eyes for part of it because it was just spinning a little too much. I also thought that I was singing out loud the entire ride, but Chris told me I wasn't.
She wasn't. She was just yelling.
So in my head, I was singing the song. I was singing September, but apparently out loud, it was just screaming.
That's right. We got September on our first try, too. So that was a big moment. All right.
My turn, right?
Eileen's turn to pick.
Shaking it up. I'm not cheating, I promise. I almost got two there.
See, you are cheating.
Best advice for a family with small children.
Strollers save vacations. I'll say it again. Strollers save vacations. And I was one of these people who initially was just like, do I really want to schlep a stroller around Disney World? But even as Megan got a little bit older, I feel like it was really important for her to have a place where she could take a break if she needed it. And a lot of times, we would honestly we'd take the stroller to an area of the park, we'd park it, and then she'd walk. But then there would be the opportunity for her to get a little rest in. When we had our break times, she had like a built-in place where she could lounge and, stay out of the sun a little bit. So as far as I'm concerned, invest the money in renting a stroller. I would suggest renting it in advance using a service like Scooterbug, which will bring it right to your resort if you're staying on property. And then it's basically no hassle. You pick it up from Bell Services and you just have it until you don't need it anymore. And you just go. So I think that is one thing that was invaluable for us and really helped mitigate some meltdowns.
Absolutely. And that sort of kind of ties in with what I was going to say. So best advice is take breaks. And whatever the breaks are can be different for your family. And it can be different based on trips. So when we took Megan when she was just a year old, our breaks looked like going back to the resort each day mid-afternoon. We hung out there for an hour or two, and then we'd go back to the parks for the evening and dinner. And then on our next trip, she was almost 3, but she wasn't quite 3 yet.
We snuck right in, and got the last free admission for her.
And at that point, we planned to go back in the afternoons for that break, but we found that we didn't need to do that. We would put her in the stroller, and she would, we'd walk around with the stroller. She wouldn't even necessarily sleep, but we'd find a spot for her to chill. I think we let her use the tablet for a little bit. Chris and I would have a drink. We'd just kind of stay put for 45 minutes to an hour and relax. And that was enough, and the break sometimes can be an active thing. Maybe it's a break from walking around. I mean, there's parks, there's green space, there's areas where you can just sit and chill or let the kids run around. Maybe the break is just sitting on a wall with a Mickey ice cream sandwich or ice cream bar. I'm going to be the oddball that prefers the ice cream sandwich because they're a little bit less messy. But whatever the break is, make sure you take a break and take it before the meltdown happens.
Well, and I think that's the biggest thing is read your kid, understand that just because you want to try to push through to do something that may not just may not be in the cards, and that's okay too. I mean, if you want everybody to have a good time, you want to make sure that the kids are having a good time too, and forcing them through something when they're exhausted isn't going to be great for them. It's not going to be great for you.
And if you're planning to go back the next day, it's not going to be great the next day if they're exhausted. So definitely take those breaks.
So this one's me. Then after this, maybe we'll each do one more.
Sounds good.
Still got a lot of questions. We could even do another one of these with the remaining questions.
I could do that too.
Okay. The best non-coaster ride at Disney.
Oh, that's harder because there's so many. Oh!
Even if you wanted to pick one from each park.
The People Mover. The People Mover at Magic Kingdom is another one of those can't miss rides for me. And really, the last question we talked about was taking a break. The People Mover is a great spot to take a break. You're sitting, you've got a spacious little car, and you are just riding through. You get to go see the inside of a couple different rides. But it's just a relaxing ride where you can just kind of chill for a few minutes.
The funny thing about the People Mover is its growth and popularity over the past, few years. I mean, we walked onto the People Mover when we went for our honeymoon, and granted, our honeymoon keeps getting further and further away. But this last time that we went, it's a constantly moving vehicle, so the line moves, but there was quite the line for it the past couple of times that we've gone on it. It's interesting how it's grown in popularity again. It went from one of those things that when it was first part of Disney World was a really cool and novel thing, and then it kind of petered out in terms of popularity, and now it seems to be experiencing a resurgence in popularity.
Everyone knows it's a great place to relax.
So this one, again, I'm not going to say is necessarily the best, but it's my favorite, and that's Pirates of the Caribbean. There's just something about that, even with the changes that it's gone through over the years. And I was one of those people who initially, when they started changing it, was kind of ornery about it. Because at first it was the ride, and then they made the movie, and the movie was based off of the ride. And then they started, as the movies became popular, they started basing the ride off of the movies. And so there's been some changes to it over the years, and they made the change with certain parts that they determined are not culturally acceptable anymore. But there's still this authenticity to it, this kind of like callback to the old Disney World and Disneyland before it, that I really enjoy. It just has that authentic Disney feel, and it's not a thrill ride. It's not anything that spins or anything like that. It's just one of those original concepts for the original Disneyland that now at Disney World in 2024 still works.
Yeah, I would agree. That's a fun one too.
And my runner-up is another one that is just like, and it's Spaceship Earth. I love Spaceship Earth. As once again, as kind of like outdated as it gets as we continue moving forward into the future and everything like that. No matter how far forward we move, it's looking back on our past. The past doesn't change. So yeah, that's one that always just has that. It always has that feel, because I feel like Walt Disney, though he obviously never saw Epcot or anything like that, a lot of his ideas, while forward thinking, always had their roots in what has happened in the past and previously. So I think that whether intentional or not, it's another one of those things that is a callback to those roots. And it's awesome because Megan's super into it right now. I mean, she asks a lot of questions when we're on it too. So it's
and that
really
smell
cool.
Of fire is just
when Rome is burning.
Yeah. I could use an update on that one, but I do enjoy the like old school of it.
All right, Eileen's last pick of the night.
All right, let's see. Oh no, I can't do this one. I can't pick. Okay, let me. Favorite dinner spot at Disney World.
We haven't been to them all, but I think like Walt Disney World, I think we've been to all the sit-down restaurants.
Definitely not at Epcot.
Not at Epcot, no.
So, you mean at Magic Kingdom? You said at Disney World.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, at Magic Kingdom. At Magic Kingdom, we've been to all of them, I believe. We've been to a handful at Epcot. We've been to
a couple at Hollywood. Most at
Hollywood. I think Animal Kingdom might be the one that we've had the least amount of experience with. I think Animal Kingdom Tusker House is pretty much what we've gone to, and that's
aside from Rainforest Cafe, which
that doesn't
really count.
That.
I mean, it does, but it's at Animal Kingdom.
It doesn't count. It's not a Disney restaurant. If we're considering dining at Disney, I guess it counts, because otherwise we'd have to discount anything that's at Disney Springs. So I guess I have to allow it, even though I just does not carry any weight with me whatsoever.
All right. So anyway, sorry. Very opinionated.
Sorry, and we'll try to keep it positive.
So, what is your favorite spot?
My favorite spot for dinner is probably, so I have a nostalgic favorite and then a real favorite. The nostalgic favorite is Tony's, and it's Tony's because that is where Eileen and I had our first dinner at Disney on our honeymoon, and then it was our 5-year, correct? Our 5-year anniversary. We went back there, and they sat us at the exact same table that we sat at on our honeymoon. So it was just one of those cool moments. I won't say that the food at Tony's is anything spectacular, But, if you're just looking for
an easy dinner too, it's good food.
Easy dinner, with some familiar flavors and everything like that, then I would say that is that's my nostalgic one. There will never be a time that I'm like, nah, let's not go to Tony's. I know that we've wanted to try other places, so we've kind of bypassed Tony's lately, but I think that one is just one that I'll always have a special place in my heart. So before I go on to my actual favorite, do you want to, or are you still deciding?
I'm still deciding. I almost feel like I need a list in front of me, but I don't need to bring up a list because I feel like what I'm going to say, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and say, oh, I forgot about this place.
Fair enough.
Because we have, again, we've been fortunate and we have eaten at a lot of different places, and we try to make an effort to eat at different places so that we can get those experiences. And of course, we do have our favorites that we go back to multiple times, but it's hard because, there are a lot that we've eaten at, and I've enjoyed almost all of them. So it is one of those. The one that's coming to my mind right now is probably Garden Grill at Epcot. I really enjoy that. I love the characters. And that was one that we did eat at on our honeymoon. That was the first time I had ever done character dining in my life. And at Garden Grill, you can meet Mickey, Farmer Mickey, Pluto, Chip, and Dale.
Dale's got to watch himself.
I was going to say, and Dale did a really nice job of trying to make Chris jealous on our honeymoon. So that kind of sticks out in my mind, but it is one, especially now with Megan, who loves Mickey and loves to meet Mickey's character, Mickey's friends. It's a great spot to go. It's a cool atmosphere because the restaurant is rotating and the food's good, and it has stuff that we'll eat. It also has stuff that a young child will eat. So it's kind of one of those win-win situations for me.
Yeah, I was going to go with Garden Grill as well. But I'll choose another experience. And I'm doing this with the caveat of I want to go back there post-COVID. And that is Be Our Guest.
Oh.
Be Our Guest had some of the best food that I've had on Disney property. And really just that was another one of those places where I really didn't, but I could have spent a lot of time taking pictures of the decor and everything like that. The way that they were working it at that point, the Beast kind of made appearances and things like that, but it wasn't really the full experience with that. So I'd be interested to go back to Be Our Guest and see what the Beast's Castle is all about without any restrictions and everything like that.
Yeah. I also want to throw in, I really like the cauliflower at Space 220. All of Space 220, really. Oh. But the cauliflower just popped into my head.
Yeah, I can't believe that I didn't,
I thought that's what you were going to pick.
That is I honestly, now I'm thinking, when I was thinking of this question, I was thinking of things experiential with Megan. So, and I guess that was one that I was so wrapped up in the experience that, I know Megan had a great experience there too, but every time I walk into Space 220, I'm like a kid, I'm like, oh my God, I'm in space, and look at that. And the food is very, very good there as well. So yes, that's another great one. All right. The last question of the night. Oh, I hate to end it on kind of a down note.
Well, then let's put that one back in and save it for next time.
Okay. All right. Do you want to hear what it was, or are we just going to leave it be?
We'll leave it be.
Okay.
We'll keep it for next time. You don't want to have it planned out.
Yeah, I want to keep this fresh, and I want to end on a positive note. Okay, favorite Disney World hidden gem. Something that isn't maybe the most popular thing that you really enjoy. or it could be a nook or cranny that you found in the parks or anything like that. It's kind of open-ended, but.
So I guess for me, it is at Magic Kingdom. And when you're in front of Cinderella's castle and you're going over to the left, not through the castle, but you go through the left and there's a path on the side that brings you up around to the back of the castle. And I don't know why. I love it there. It's just a nice view of the castle. We frequently stop for pictures there and just to kind of get, pictures of the castle. And it's not usually a very crowded area. And it does, it's not the front on view of the castle, but you can still see it. And that's the spot that's coming to my mind right now. I might have more tomorrow, but that is a spot that I always love to go.
No, yeah, that's a good one. So that is if you're facing the castle and you took a left and you were heading towards like Hall of Presidents.
Yeah.
But before you get that far, like the Sleepy Hollow snack shop there, you take a right there and then going up that path on the side, right? Yeah. Okay. Mine's a little bit similar. It's the Cinderella fountain right there on the side of the castle, basically up at the top of that path that you're talking about. Yeah. I just think that that's a nice little it's honestly one of those nice little rest spots too. You can kind of hide out there, and it's a little bit set back from the crowds and everything like that. So, it's just one of those things where you can kind of sit there and you're looking up at the castle and you can see some of the details in the castle. And so that's a spot that I've always enjoyed.
Clearly we like the left side of the castle over there.
And it's funny because there's on the other side, there's like the wishing well. I don't like that as much.
Well, and I guess if you're going right, there's not that full path back around. So you have to go through Tomorrowland, right? Or you have to go through the castle? I could be wrong.
I think so. To get to the...
Like if you were to get to the back.
No, you could go like straight through to like basically where the wishing well is. There's the path that leads like straight to the teacups.
Okay, but I feel like that's just a more crowded area. And so I think, some of it is that path on the left, I find tends to be a little less crowded. And
one other spot that I like that is, now this is reserved for Disney Vacation Club members, is the lounge in Epcot. In the glass pyramid, where for those who don't know, over by Figment, the glass pyramid, that is that has been made into a DVC lounge. Which when Megan was young especially was really key. I took her there one day hoping that she would nap, and she didn't nap. She just kind of was doing, at that point she was she wasn't even toddling. She was still holding on to things and kind of shimmying her way around, and she basically kind of shimmied here and shimmied there, and basically was just like, hi everybody, I'm cute, but it was just enough of the downtime that we've kind of talked about that she was able to recharge a little bit and kind of get out of the heat too. But that's a spot that I like simply from the standpoint of when you need a rest at Epcot. Especially, there are a lot of places in Epcot where there's not a lot of shade. It can get very hot, you can get very tired. Yes. It's a great spot to kind of chill out and recharge. So I wasn't sure I was going to say that one because it's not open to everybody, but it is something that I do enjoy, and it's one of those nice little perks of the Vacation Club. Yeah. Well, this was fun.
It was.
Well, I wish that we could do more, but of course both of us need to work tomorrow, so we need to get some sleep. And hopefully dream of Disney. like I said before, I hope you had as much fun listening to that as we had doing it. And as you can tell, we've got a lot more that we can talk about, so surely Eileen is going to be back to answer some more of these questions, to go over more of these topics that we'll pull out of the hat. Maybe we'll try a different Mickey hat next time. But in the meantime, I really want to thank you all for listening. If you want to get in touch with me, you can always reach out on social media. There is a new Facebook page, the Mazas Musings Podcast Facebook page. In addition to that, you can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Mazas Musings. You can also shoot me an email. In addition to Spotify, you can find this podcast on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and YouTube. And also, I'm happy to announce that there is now a website also for this page. It's mazasmusings.wordpress.com. Feel free to check it out. I'm always happy to hear from you, whether you have questions, whether you have comments, if you have suggestions on topics to talk about, whether it's Disney related, sports related, or anything else fun. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, subscribe to the podcast, leave a review. Things like that certainly help expand the reach of this podcast so that we can share the fun with more and more people. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and have a great week.
You can edit that out, right? You better not put all this in.